Ladies and gentlemen, we saw this very thing coming, and now that it's here, it's actually worse than we thought. All right, folks, let's get into this. I'm going to read a story to you from Breitbart, but I want to just simply say this before I even read the story. And that is the fact that when we talked about Russia, Ukraine, we've talked about the many things that very much concerned us about the dynamic that we were beginning to see there. We said that it was building up the military-industrial complex. We said that this was the United States of America that kind of created this kind of condition that we're seeing right now. We have said on multiple occasions, this was something that wasn't even necessary. Russia actually would have never gone into Ukraine had the United States of America not continually lied about the expansion of NATO. We have done video after video after video after video after video of this. And of course, I want to simply say this. We are never going to be in support of anything that Russia does, and nor are we going to be in support of what Ukraine is doing. But I want to just simply say, with looking at the truth and confronting the reality of what's in front of us, the story that we are about to read is a perfect example of everything that we have been talking about for a long time. One of the things that we mentioned was that Ukraine was a hotbed of clandestine operators, where the United States of America were taking their secret, top secret, whatever you want to call it, operatives, and we're doing all kinds of manipulation around the world. And of course, when we talk about the effect of Ukraine on the region and on the area, you have to understand that there are so many nations that are in or near or around this area. And of course, by the United States being in Ukraine, it has had a tremendous effect all over Western Europe, and it has had an effect on every country that you can think of, including across the way in the Black Sea. It's had an effect on Romania and Bulgaria and Greece and all the other countries that surround it, right? You could go right up that eastern side of the western portion of Western Europe, and it would just blow your mind to think about what's happened in the Czech Republic and Germany and Lithuania and Latvia and all the other countries that surround that whole area. We said that it would have a tremendous effect on all of those things, and Ukraine has been a hotbed of operatives who have changed the flavor of things that have happened all throughout the tenure of the last 100 years, or the history of the last 100 years, and we're not surprised that these things are happening. It doesn't shock us because we have seen America having its hand in it, and it's not very good on a whole bunch of levels. Now, with that said, Ukraine, as I said before, has always been a hotbed for this stuff. It has been the place where, for lack of a better term, it's been a petri dish for all of the experimental nonsense that's been going on by the military-industrial complex, by the, as we've talked about it, the clandestine operators and everything that goes with that, the intelligence community, all of that kind of stuff. And of course, as you know, it shouldn't be a coincidence that all of the symbols that we saw during Nazi Germany in World War II are the same type of symbols that we're seeing in these social uprisings that are being manipulated by the United States of America. Now, this is not a United States of America bashing session. I'm just telling you what we're dealing with. With that in mind, when you look at the region and you look at the area, then it should not surprise you when we see a story like this. This is Breitbart. It says this: welcome to Skynet. Ukraine emerges as a hotbed of development for, notice this, killer AI drones. And I'm telling you this right now, folks. If you thought Terminator was some fake, faraway idea, understand something. It is not fake. It is not far away. It is something that is ongoing and continues to happen. And it is a very, very serious problem that is well on the rise. Iran is in the middle of it. Russia is in the middle of it. Ukraine is a big part of it. There's so much nonsense that's going on, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So let's read this article. This is what it has to say. It says, in the ongoing conflict with Russia, Ukraine has emerged as a hotbed for autonomous drone technology, pushing the boundaries of weaponized AI and raising ethical concerns about the future of warfare. By the way, as I mentioned before, there are people that are smack dab in the middle of all of this. We know that there are people that are actually perfecting it. The United States of America is really perfecting a lot of this stuff, and it's absolutely crazy when you consider the military operations that we're doing that is sort of becoming the great contributory variable in this technology actually getting more and more prominent in in this theater of war. It's a very, very sad thing because we are taking lives for the simple purpose of experimentation. It's crazy. But look at this. The article goes on to say that the New York Times reports that the fields surrounding Kyiv have become testing grounds for a new era of warfare where autonomous drones track targets with eerie precision. Companies like Viri are at the forefront of this technology revolution, developing drones that can lock in onto and pursue targets without human intervention. This advancement represents a significant leap in the weaponization of consumer technology driven by urgent need to outmaneuver Russian forces. I can just tell you this right now. There's no way that these drones are going to outmaneuver Russian forces. I'm going to make myself very, very clear. Russia's been dabbling with this stuff a lot longer, and I can also make myself very clear when I say they also understand very well how this stuff works, and so does some of the people that they've been aligning themselves with. But even more importantly than that, I know what Ezekiel 38 says about Russia, which is why I can tell you it's not going to work. But what I do think is happening here is I think that even though the United States of America truly does understand the fact that they are not going to beat Russia here, they know that this is their opportunity to not only position themselves in the region a little bit more aggressively, but at the same time, it is their opportunity to test technology that they would not be able to otherwise test in a real life scenario. Now, we've talked about AI, the dangers of AI, and how AI is going to come back and bite literally everybody who plays with it in the rear, at least when they play with it this way. But nonetheless, U.S. military forces don't really care, or at least the commanders at the highest level. Let's get into this. It continues to say, Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation, Mikhailo Fedorov, emphasizes the critical nature of this technology, stating, "We need maximum automation. These technologies are fundamental to our victory. The government is actively funding drone companies to scale up production rapidly, recognizing the potential edge that these systems could provide against Russian forces. The development of autonomous weapons in Ukraine is not limited to a single company or approach. Firms like Secker have repurposed AI processes originally designed for fruit sorting to create deadly targeting systems." Victor Secker, CEO, explains their technology. It resists wind. It resists jamming. You just have to be precise with what you're going to hit. The company now produces thousands of circuit boards monthly, enabling drones to auto-lock onto targets and strike with devastating accuracy. So let me just make myself very clear. It doesn't necessarily resist. Yes, it resists wind because of all the counter forces that take place in these multi-rotor systems, but it actually doesn't resist jamming because these things are typically not radio controlled anymore. When they take off, they're being given a series of subset commands, and there's a great amount of variables that exist, but it's almost like putting a mini pilot inside of one of these drones. It doesn't need somebody on the other end actually controlling it, which is why these things get really scary, okay? Because think about it. What if it goes bad? What if it doesn't target what you specifically tell it to target? There's so many different things to talk about here. This paragraph goes on to say what makes these developments particularly significant is their low cost and accessibility. Many of these weapons are built using readily available components and open source code costing just thousands of dollars or less. The accessibility, however, raises concerns about potential misuse, with some U.S. officials worried about the technology being used for terrorist attacks. Duh, they've already been used for terrorist attacks. It goes on to say the ethical implications of autonomous weapons are not just lost on the international community. Stuart Russell, an AI scientist from UC Berkeley, warns there will be weapons of mass destruction that are cheap, scalable, and easily available in arms markets all over the world. Human rights groups and UN officials are pushing for limitations on autonomous weapons, fearing an uncontrollable global arms race. I think it's hilarious that the UN is speaking up on this, being that they are probably the largest terrorist organization in the world. It's ridiculous. Anyway, however, for Ukrainian forces on the front line, such ethical concerns are secondary to the immediate need for survival and victory. Innovations are not limited to aerial drones. Companies like DevDroid are developing autonomous gun turrets that can track and engage targets from a distance. Yuri Klonstak, a 23-year-old reservist, sees these advancements as crucial, and he goes on to say this, I quote, "I understand this was the only way, if not to win this war, then to at least hold our positions." Well, that's not going to work real well for a lot of reasons, and we've talked about it. Look what it goes on to say. It says, "The rapid development of these technologies has attracted international attention and investment. Eric Schmidt, former Google CEO and noted leftist, has set up a firm called D3 to invest in emerging battlefield technologies in Ukraine. This influx of capital and expertise is accelerating the pace of innovation, with Ukrainian companies moving faster than many of their overseas counterparts. While the current generation of autonomous weapons still require human intervention for firing decisions, the technology is evolving quickly, and some systems, like those developed by Swarmer, already enable a single operator to control multiple drones simultaneously on bombing and reconnaissance missions. The company's founder, Serhiy Kuprenko, envisions a future where drone pilots can operate 5 or 10 drones at the same time, which, of course, this is something that we're already seeing happen. Intel has developed a massive army of drones that are based on AI that do these light shows where these guys that are controlling our, single drone operator or multi-rotor operator is operating, 500, 600s of these things. The technology is already proven. It's actually kind of old and it's happening. But all of this to say, as I read through this, that folks, do you not see the end time scenario beginning to play out here? Do you not see the idea that mankind has already put itself in full destruction mode? Do you not see the fact that all of these autonomous infrastructures really are the preparation for the economy of the Antichrist that's going to be coming? Do you not see the fact that these things are happening and they're literally around the corner? Folks, I bring all this stuff up to just simply say, look up, because our redemption is undoubtedly drawing nigh. I mean, think about the picture that so much of this creates and should create for our mind in understanding that the world is getting darker. The birth pangs are increasing. And very, very soon, we are going to see the types of changes that we never even thought were possible. And yet we know, all while we're looking at this, that Christ could come at any moment. Now, that brings us to our place of hope. Because as we read stories like this, it's very easy to become distraught. It's very easy to get nervous. It's really easy to get scared about the things we're seeing. But more importantly, it is a great tool given to us by God to continue to grow in our confidence in his word and what he has to say. Because as dark as things are getting, and as crazy as things have become, and as wildly out of control as everything is, you guys have to understand something really important. You have to understand the fact that God is in the midst of all of it, that he has sovereignly took these things over, and he continues to have his hand upon every aspect of this. God is sovereign. We know he's sovereign, and every single thing we're seeing manifest in front of us today in this world is continual evidence of that fact. We should be excited about what God has for us. We should be looking to him. We should be remembering what's in front of us, and we should recognize that the faithfulness of God is not going to continue to stop. His word tells us what to expect. We're seeing it being manifested, and it should make us even more excited and encouraged that he is hard at work. So let's look to him. Let's seek his face, and let's put him first. God bless you guys. We have lots of hope.